Good morning all. Today we are going to discuss about message authentication. Okay. So till now we have gone through encryption algorithms, public key, private key encryption algorithms. Private key means we are going to use a single key at the sender and the receiver, or we can say it as what a symmetric encryption. Okay, or else a secret key encryption where we are using one single key for encryption. So why the encryption is used for providing the secrecy. Okay, and coming to public key cryptography, we might have used two keys, one for this sender for encryption and for the decryption, right? So one key is used for the encryption and another key is used for the decryption. So that's why it is said to be what two key encryption or asymmetric encryption. So like this, so this encryption process, the encryption is used to provide the secrecy. Now coming to authentication, right? Authentication is of two categories, first of all, right? One is sender authentication and the second one is message authentication. Sender authentication means what? Whoever is sending, we have to get the authentication of the sender, that is he is the authorized sender, he only has sent it. So that can be possible by encrypting the message with the private key of the sender. Okay, that means only the sender will have that private key, so he is only going to send the message. So that is what sender authentication, the person who is sending. Okay, and coming to message authentication indicates that there is no modification in the message, the integrity of the message is maintained. So that is said to be what? Message authentication. So whatever the message is sent by the sender, it has to be received by the receiver without any modification. So that is said to be what? The integration of the message is protected. So protecting the integrity of the message is said to be message authentication. Okay, and validating identity of the originator. So that is what sender authentication. Okay, and coming to non-repudiation of the origin. So that means what? Once it is sent, it cannot be uh, set as it is not sent by the sender. So message authentication will include all these three. Okay, integrity of the message, identity of the originator, and non-repudiation. So all these will be maintained. And there are what three alternative functions what we can use for providing this message authentication. One is message encryption. So that means encryption itself can provide the authentication, or else we can go for message authentication code, or else we can go for hash function. Okay, so like these three different ways are there. So we'll be seeing one by one each, right? So what are the security requirements to provide this message authentication? So disclosure. So we are trying to avoid the disclosure, right? So that means the message should not be visible to all anybody else. Okay, if it is visible, it can be modified, so that we are going to trying to avoid. Okay, traffic analysis, right? The cryptanalyst trying to identify what kind of message it is being transmitted. So that is said to be what? Traffic analysis. How many number of packets are being transmitted, what kind of message it is transmitting, all these things, how many number of bits, all this can be analyzed by the cryptanalysis. So that can also be is one of the requirements. So we should try to avoid the traffic analysis, masquerading, acting as somebody else. That is sender authentication we need to provide. Content modification. The content should not be modified. Sequence should not be modified. Timing. So at that specified time only it has to be transmitted. Timing modification should not be there. Source repudiation should be there. Destination repudiation. Okay, so all these security requirements must be satisfied. Okay, and now coming to the first function. So using the encryption itself, we can provide the message authentication. So how we can provide this? So if we am going for the symmetric encryption, what is symmetric encryption? That is sender and the receiver both are using the same key. Right, so only one key that must be shared between the sender and the receiver, and that key is used to encrypt the message, transmit, and the receiver will decrypt the message. Now, how it can provide the encryption? The receiver know the sender must have created it. Okay, how it will know? Because only the sender and the receiver is having that particular key. So they are saying, they are assuming that what there is no other one is having that particular key. So that means the receiver can understand it is only created by the sender. So sender authentication is there. Since only the sender and receiver know the key used, no other one cannot alter it, yes or not, because only the sender and the receiver they are having that particular key, so they can understand that no other one can modify it. So that's why message encryption can also provide this authentication. If the message has suitable structure, redundancy, or a checksum to detect any changes, so they can identify whether the message has been modified or not in between. So in this way, the message encryption can be used to provide the authentication also. Okay, this is for what? If we have the symmetric encryption. If we are going for asymmetric encryption, that is public key encryption. So public key encryption means what? We have two different keys at each party. Okay, one key is for an one key is public and another one is private. Public means what? All can use, all can have. They can view the public key. Okay, private key is what? Only that particular party will have the private key. Right, so every party is going to disclose its public key and secretly maintain its private key. Encryption provides no confidence for the sender. So if I am encrypting a message with the private key of the sender, so it can provide the authentication. It will not provide the secrecy, right? So why? Because if I am encrypting with the private key of the sender, so it can be decrypted with the public key of the public key of the sender. So that means public key is publicly available means the confidentiality will not be there, right? So if I am encrypting with the private key public key of the receiver, so it can be decrypted with the receiver's private key. So if I am using this public key, then what happens? The secrecy will be there, but authentication will not be there. So for this purpose, both, as we have seen in the last class, both the public and private keys, two times encryption and two times decryption must be there. Okay, so that means first encrypt the message with the sender's private key. With the sender's private key, what happens then? Only with the public key of the sender we can decrypt it, so that is identifying only the sender has sent. So that is what signing the message using the private key of the sender. Okay, then encrypt the message with the recipient's public key. Okay, then what we are providing? We are providing the secrecy here. So first one, encrypt the message using the private key of the sender for the authentication, and second one is for secrecy. So both authentication and secrecy can be provided by performing multiple encryptions. That is two times encryption and two times decryption at the receiver side. Right. So this is how the public key can be used. Right. Now, but what happens? Both the two keys must be, that is two times encryption, two times decryption. So that will the cost will be more. Right. And now the second type of function, that is message authentication code, okay, that we are going to call it as MAC. So we are going to generate a fixed size block from the message that is said to be MAC code or message authentication code. So it depends on the both message and some key. So it is going to use some key and it will be generating the code, so that we are going to call it as the message authentication code, and that we are representing as a signature. So what the message authentication code is doing, take the message, and from the message we are generating one code, so that we are calling as MAC code or else the signature. So both together we are going to append the message to this particular signature, and then we are going to transmit. So this MAC code is going to provide you the authentication. How? We can see here in this one. So see here what we are doing, the message we are generating. We are using one key and generating the code. So that code is said to be MAC code. Both will be appended together and will be transmitted. So how it will be transmitted? Message and the code. Okay. So at the receiver, what it does, this message authentication code again will be generated from the given message. Again the same will get same function we are using, same key we are using, and we try to generate again the MAC code, and it will compare the received MAC code with the generated MAC code. If there is no difference, okay, then the message is not modified. If there is any difference, then it is said to be what? Message is altered. Okay, so then the message can be rejected. Okay, how? Simply, very simple. So take the message, generate the MAC code, alright, append both together and transmit. So message with the MAC code, again at the receiver, again generate the MAC code and compare with the received MAC code. So then we are going to check whether it is modified or not. So in this way message authentication code can be used, right? So that is what. As shown, the MAC provides authentication. What it is showing? It is providing the authentication. So can also use encryption for secrecy. That here, when you go for this particular diagram, so what we are doing, we are providing the authentication, only integrity, whether integrity is there or not. That message is modified or not, we are checking. Okay. If you want to provide the secrecy for the message, you can encrypt this message also. Okay, so can compute MAC either before or after encryption. So the option, so here before the encryption you can generate the MAC code, or after the encryption also. Why the encryption can be used? To provide the secrecy. So additional operation you can perform. So before or after also we can perform. Okay, right. Then it is generally regarded as better done before. That is, first encrypt the message and then generate the MAC code. That will be what? Better option. Clear? So why do we go for this MAC code? Sometimes only authentication is needed, right? So where the secrecy is not needed, only authentication is needed, then we can go for this MAC code. Okay, sometimes need authentication to persist longer than the encryption, right? So that is what, more authentication is more needed, then we can go for MAC code, right? And do remember, MAC is not a digital signature. So digital signature is indicating the authentication of the sender. So MAC is indicating the authentication of the message only. So do remember that particular point. Okay, and now coming to the properties of MAC. So MAC is nothing but cryptographic checksum. Checksum is why we are using this term checksum. Checksum is to check the message is altered or not. Okay, so and how, anyhow this MAC we are using to check the message is altered or not. So that's why this MAC is said to be cryptographic checksum, and we can represent ck of m, where k is representing the key, right? And it is going to generate a fixed size authenticator, that is the MAC code. Clear? So here this MAC code can be a many to one function. So that means multiple messages can have same MAC code. So that means if the message, multiple messages are there, you can generate a single MAC also. Okay, but finding these needs to be very difficult. So but which message is having the same MAC code is identifying is very difficult. Okay, right. Next, coming to the requirements of MAC, right? So what need the MAC to satisfy the following? So where do you require this MAC? Knowing a message and a MAC, it should be infeasible to find another message with the same MAC. So you have to generate a MAC in such a way that so the same MAC should not be generated for any other message, right? And MAC should be uniformly distributed. Okay, MAC should be uniformly distributed. You should not have, that is what we are trying to generate, a fixed size MAC. Clear, right? A MAC should depend equally on the bits of the message, all the bits of message. We should not consider some bits and we should not leave other bits. All the message bits must be considered and then the MAC should be generated, right? And so here one simple algorithm to generate the MAC code is what? Data authentication algorithm. So that is based on DES. Okay, DES, data encryption standards in CBC mode. So what is CBC? Cipher block chaining mode. So initial vector we are going to take it as 0 and 0 pad of final block we are going to take, and then we are applying DES in CBC mode and generate the MAC code. Okay, and generate the MAC code. So this MAC code will be of what? 16 to 64 bits of final MAC code. So now you can see that data authentication algorithm to generate the MAC code. So what we are doing, we are taking the message block of 64 bits each block, right? So we are applying cipher block chaining. So output cipher block we are going to chain. Clear? So the final one output block we are going to take it as DAC. DAC is nothing but data authentication code. So that is MAC generated using data authentication algorithm is said to be DAC. Okay. And we are using one key for this algorithm. What we are doing? First block we are taking, encrypting with the key, generating the cipher block. As this is cipher block chaining, this cipher block is given as input and here XOR, and we are going to perform, and this will be proceeded, okay, until the last block. And you can see here I am not putting the XOR with the IV. Why? Because initial vector we are taking as 0. So that's why I am not keeping a separate XOR for input vector, initialization vector. Okay. So remaining all we are taking what? The cipher block for feedback to the next block, and we are encrypting, generating the output. So the last output will be giving you the DAC, that is message authentication code generated using data authentication algorithm, that is said to be data authentication code. Okay, so that is DAC, right? So first one is message encryption, first function that is used for to provide the authentication. Second one, MAC code, right? So that is using the DAC algorithm, data authentication algorithm, DAA, we can provide the MAC. And the third one is hash function. Okay, MAC uses what? The key. But coming to the hash function, it doesn't use any key. It applies the mathematical operations to generate the hash code. Okay, so that is the main difference between MAC and hash. So MAC requires a key and hash doesn't require any key. So it will generate the hash code. So fixed size hash code that is that is depending upon the mathematical operations. Okay, so this is also used to detect the message changes in the message. That is what, just like MAC, it is also used to identify the integrity check of the MAC. Okay, and it is most often used to create the digital signatures. So these hash functions can be used to generate the digital functions. How it is, we'll see, right? So here now coming to hash functions, how it will be, the message we are generating the hash code. Okay, so that hash code encrypted with the private key of the sender, then that is generating the digital signature. So here the sender is signing. Clear? Sender authentication and message authentication together we are providing. So that is what? The digital signature. So message we are performing the hash function. That hash value is encrypted with the private key of the sender. Private key of the sender means what? The sender is authenticating it. Sender is signing on it. Okay, sender authentication we are providing. So all together we are we are combining this message with the generated digital signature and transmit. So here message with the digital signature is there, and this digital signature will be decrypted, and whatever the hash value is there, that will be compared with the message again hashed and the resultant hash value. These two hash values will be compared, and whether the message is modified or not, we can check. So here what we are performing, two operations we are performing. One is what, sender authentication we are performing, and the message authentication. How the sender authentication? Using the private key of the sender we are encrypting. So this is what, sender authentication. If I am encrypting with the private key of the sender, so that will give us sender authentication. Okay, and for the message we are performing the hash function. So that hash function is, so that hash value will be giving us the message authentication. So both the things we are doing here, hashing and digital signature, that we are performing to provide the sender authentication as well as message authentication. Okay, right? Now, so what are the requirements for hash function? So it can be applied to any sized message m, right? Any size message m we can apply to any size, and it produces a fixed length output function, output value h. So that is nothing but the hash of m, right? And it should be easy to compute this hash. The requirement is it should be easy to compute this. Okay, it should be infeasible to find x such that h of x is equals to h. That means I have generated a message hash. That hash should not be same with any other message. Okay, so that is said to be what? And that is said to be what? One-way property. Okay, it is infeasible. Given h, if I am giving an h, it should be infeasible to find x such that h of x should be equals to h. Okay, and if x is given, it should be infeasible to find y such that h of y is equals to h of x. That means no two messages should have the same hash in such a way that we have to identify the hash function. Okay, this is said to be what, weak collision resistance, and it should be infeasible to find x and y, any two. Okay, any two messages that are having the same hash value. Okay, that is here x is known but y is not known. Okay, if x and y both are there, for both of them it should not have the same hash. So this is said to be what, strong collision resistance. So in this way the requirements of hash function are defined. So what is it? It should be applied to any message. It should generate this fixed size hash. It is easy to compute the hash value. Okay, and if h is given, it should be infeasible to identify the x. Okay, we should not able to identify what is the message. Okay, it should be infeasible to identify any two messages xy such that h of x is equals to h of y. Okay, so that is what the main requirements of hash, right? So here you can go for simple hash function. How the simple hash function works is simply go on performing XOR message, XOR operation for the message blocks. Okay, so what we are doing, we are going to take the message, we are going to divide into blocks. Each block we are performing XOR with other block, and finally whatever the code is generated, that we are going to take it as XOR. Okay, but it is what, insecure. Okay, because not secure since can manipulate any message and either not changes hash or change hash also. That means if I am using the simple XOR function, what happens? If I am changing the message such that hash may not be changed, or else if I am changing the message and hash also both together, then we are unable to detect whether it is changed or not. So that's why we require some stronger functions. Okay, and mainly hash functions are vulnerable to birthday attacks. Okay, birthday attacks, how it is going to, this is said to be birthday paradox, where opponent generates 2 power m by 2, where m is the number of bits in the message. Okay, so 2 power m by 2 variants of valid messages. Okay, with essentially the same meaning. We are trying to generate some valid messages. How many? 2 power m by 2. M is what, number of bits of a message. Okay, so 2 power m by 2 variations of valid messages, all with essentially the same meaning. Okay, and also generates 2 power m by 2 variations of desired fraudulent message. Okay, so it generates 2 power m by 2 variants of valid message, and 2 power m by 2 variations of desired fraudulent messages. Okay, and then two sets of messages are compared to find, these two sets of messages are compared to find a pair with the same hash. Okay, and we are trying to identify what these two, this is one set of messages, this is another set of messages. We try to identify, we try to compare and find a pair with the same hash. For this we are generating hash, for this we are generating hash, and we try to identify the same hash. Okay, and the probability for this is 0.5. The probability will be what, from 0 to 1. Okay, and here according to birthday paradox, the probability is greater than 0.5 for this type of fraudulent. Okay, so this is said to be birthday attack. So two sets of messages will be generated, one are what with the same meaning as that of given message, and other message of fraudulent message, and try to have the same hash, and this fraudulent message can be added to the message with the given hash, and then it is having what probability more than 0.5, so that means it is vulnerable to birthday attacks. Clear, right? And the conclusion is what we need to go for better and larger MAC or hash functions. Okay, so we are having we can use block ciphers as hash function, right? So we can have the block ciphers with CBC mode. We can go for this hash function generating. How it is, we have one important I'll show you that we have the algorithms like SHA, secure hash algorithm, okay, HMAC, okay, all these we are going to see now. So these are going to provide you the hash with what block ciphers. Okay, now you can see here. So what are hash and MAC algorithms? So just now we have discussed what is hash function and what is MAC code, message authentication code. So hash is going to generate by processing the message in blocks, okay, and will generate the fixed size. It doesn't use any key, but it uses the key. Okay, message authentication code will use a key. Now hash algorithms, how it will be, some mathematical functions we are applying. Okay, so all the blocks y0 to yld minus 1, so all these blocks we are going to apply to the function and we are generating the hash. Okay, and now as we have seen the simple hash function where we are going to perform the XOR operations which is vulnerable to birthday attacks. But if you go for secure hash algorithm, so we have number of variations of this secure hash algorithms. Okay, so hash SHA algorithm, we are SHA-1 algorithm that is defined in 1995. Okay, SHA originally designed by NIST, okay, and NSA in 1993, okay, and was revised in 1995 as SHA-1. Okay, and we are currently going to discuss about the SHA-512, okay, where SHA-512 is 512 bits of hash will be generated. Okay, why we require what, the longer messages, okay, longer hash codes and MAC code for the more security. So now you can see three variations, other variations of SHA: 256, 384 and 512. So what I told you, we are going to discuss about SHA 512. So all will be using the same operations. The 256 and 384, 512 are what number of bits in the hash code. So, and this is what designed for the compatibility with the increased security provided by AES algorithm. Okay, and all the structures will be same as that of SHA-1, and you can see it is going to provide higher security. And this algorithm structure, how it is, the message we are going to pad with 1 followed by zeros. This is what padding, so that it will be of what, the total L bits. So where L is what, length of the message, and we want to generate the block size of 1024. bits. Okay, each block should be of 1024. If the message is not having multiples of 1024, I need to add some bits. So that is what the padding. Original length we are maintaining in this L. Okay, so additional bits we are going to pad such that 1024 bits are bit blocks can be generated. Now this message will be divided into blocks. Okay, how many? N blocks. How many 1024 bit blocks are generated? Those we are going to take, and this each block will be given to a function. Okay, with initial vector we are passing, and initial vector is of 512 bits, and this 1024 bits we are going to pass, and we are applying to a function, and the resultant will be of 512 bits, and this 512 bits will be uh, added and will be generating the h1, and that will be given as what? Next to input. And here again these 1024 bits and 512 bits will be given to this function, and this will be proceeded, right? But what this function is going to do? Okay, so the function 1024 bit blocks will be taken, and it will be processing and generating 512 bits. So how? This is the compression function, the f whatever we have seen in the last diagram, that is compression function. What it is doing? It is processing the message in 1024 bit blocks, and it consists of 80 rounds. How many rounds? 80 rounds will be there. And updating this 512 bit input, we are going to pass one input 512 bits, so that will be updated, okay, using a 64 bit value wt derived from the current message block. So current message block is what? 1024. From this we are going to get 64 bit values wt, and that will be performing on it, and round constant based upon the cube root of first 80 prime numbers. Okay, we are going to pass the round constants. So how? I'll show you in the diagram. So see here, round function, how it is taking. We are going to use this wt and kt. This is round constant, and the block will be divided into a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h. So 512 bits will be divided into this a, b, c, d, e, f, g, h. Okay, and all will be applying the functions. What kind of functions? Summation, adding, adding, majority, change, again summation. Okay, additions. So these functions we are applying, and we are generating. For simplicity, I'll take the first one. So the how this round function is changing a value to the next value a is a we are going to summate with the majority value. Majority means what? Maximum value of a, b, and c. So that value will be added, and that the resultant will be added with the key, and that key is added to this one and generating a. Okay, so this operation we are going to generate to a, and a as it is will be taken to b, b as it is will be taken to c, c as it is d, d added with the key is taken as e, e as taken as f. Okay, then f is taken as g, and g is taken as h. Okay, and these will be generating to perform again a. So like this the operations will be performed in the round function. Okay, and how the w values will be generated? I have 80 rounds. Okay, for 80 rounds I require w0 to w79. Okay, so how it will be generated? So the message bits will be passed to XR, and this is what? Rotations. Sigma is what? Rotations. So rotation functions will be used, right? So the message blocks, the given message block 1024 we are dividing into 64 bit blocks, and for the next blocks again same, this w0, w1, w9, and w14 will be taken and performing sigma functions and performing XOR operation and generating w16. So like this it will be proceeding. Okay, so to generate up to 80. So that is about the SHA function. Okay, so in the next class we'll go for HMAC. Okay, HMAC and CMAC in the next class. Thank you.